in today's lesson, I'm gonna show you how to actually use the altered scale and how to blend it into your solos or into your compositions to create more tension and more interesting moments. But first, I'd like to explain what an altered scale is and how it's built. So if you already know that, you can skip to the next chapter of this lesson. But if you're not so secure about it or you're a little confused, then listen to this explanation because I'm gonna try to make it as clear as possible. So, an altered scale is basically a mode from the melodic minor world. So what does that mean? That means that it's the 7th degree of the melodic minor scale. So if we are in C melodic minor, meaning this sound, 1, 2, minor third, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then again 1, we play this scale with these exact notes, but from B to B. And this is gonna be a B altered scale, and it's gonna sound like this. So same notes, different starting point, and it sounds very different. And why is that scale so interesting? This scale is interesting because it's actually like you would take a major scale and make every single note flat. So if I would play the B major scale, it would sound like this. Now we make every note flat except the root. And there we have another way to get the altered scale. And so the altered scale is used over dominant chords to play instead of a normal dominant chord, a normal 5, so to speak. Then we can take this chord and make it altered. So that means that all the tensions of the chord, so meaning the 9th becomes a flat 9, the 13 becomes a flat 13, or the 9 becomes a sharp 9, the 4th becomes a sharp 4, and so on. And that means that we have a basic dominant chord, but with altered tensions that come from the altered scale. And when we do that, we create much more tension over this chord. We go further away from the basic key we are in, and that allows us to resolve it then to, for example, the 1 to the major chord, the 1 of this 5 altered that we were playing. So in that case, I'm demonstrating it with a G altered that wants to go to a C major 7. And so in music, it's very, very important to have tension and release. And this is what we do with the altered scale. And that's why I strongly suggest not to practice the altered scale just as a scale, just by itself. For example, G altered scale would be. If we do that, of course, we have a new scale, we can improvise with that scale maybe, but it's difficult to connect it to a musical context. And the most important thing you can do actually with this scale is to practice it around a major scale that you already know. So for example, if we take the 5th position of C major, this is our home, meaning that's where we resolve and where everything gets fine, right? And we have our G dominant that makes the tension to resolve on this. And so what we can do is let's find the notes of the G altered scale that are close to our goal notes of the C major scale. So that's a very, very important exercise. And I did that before my bachelor studies, right before I started. And that helped me a lot playing solos, creating some tensions on the dominant chords and then resolving it. So you can do that. For example, if we take this scale in the 5th position, then we can find the notes of the altered scale around the major scale, right? So and the altered scale would be. And if you take a look, there are not so many notes in common. There's just the G and the B and the F. That's it. The rest is in between the right notes. So we have this scale, right? That's the C major scale. And that's the altered scale. That's in common, not in common, not in common, in common. Then outside also not in common, not in common, in common, and again one. So that means that it's actually pretty easy to see the notes, because if those are the goal notes, probably these are the altered scale notes. And you can just resolve. So you are always a half step away from your goal note. And you can start doing even without harmonic context. You heard, right? Altered. And no longer altered, right? So how could you practice that? You could actually take a loop pedal and record 1 bar of G altered and 1 bar of C major, where we have to resolve and to land, so to speak. And then you move from the altered scale to the major scale. And to make it musical, try to use motives to do that. So don't just play, okay, the scale, and then resolved, and then of course you can do that at the beginning if you don't see the notes right away, but then try to use motives, and I'm gonna show it to you right now with the comping. It starts with the altered scale. And so on. So you get the idea, right? I improvised with some motives, some very clear musical ideas, and tried to use them in both contexts, right? On the G altered and on the C major. So that's your exercise. Find the notes around the major scale, loop the 2 chords, and then improvise with it. And when you can do that, then try to apply that to a tune. So you can also, as an exercise, of course, you don't want to play like that always, but you can say, okay, I'm gonna play all dominant chords of this tune as an altered chord and resolve then on their one that comes afterwards. So that could be a good exercise, but of course, don't do it all the time then when you are playing a concert, of course. So I hope that was helpful, and let me know in the comments if you liked it, if you have questions, or if you have wishes for future lessons. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks a lot, and see you for the next lesson.